day everyone, this is Venus Ismail Pogoy from BC English 1A. So for today's discussion, we'll be tackling about the Chinese English. But before that, let us first know the introduction of Chinese English. So it is universally acknowledged that the revolution of the information technology, traditional boundaries of human society fall away. Our culture, politics, and society and commerce are being involved in the large melting pot of humanity. So there is no monolingual country, and it is destiny of human beings to be confronted not by one language but several languages. A global language is a migrated language because of the globalization of English, promoted into diversification of English. So English is the meaning of having openness and international, at the same time having local identity. English now is multinational, multicultural, multiformal, and multifunctional language. So now let us move on to China English, a standard variety. In today's world, the trend of English globalization is irreversible, which means it has an increasingly large amount of English-speaking population. So Culture in 1985 divided them into three groups in the form of three concentric circles. First is the inner circle, where people speak English as a native language. Next is the outer circle, where people speak it as a second language. The third is the expanding circle, where people speak it as a foreign language. At the beginning, during English uses British or American English as its standard, which is now generally regarded as just two English varieties. And many countries have announced the independence of their Englishes and that treat them as the equal varieties of British English and American English. Now let us move on to distinctive features at the level of phonology. When asked what goals they are pursuing, most of the Chinese English learners would say they want to acquire the ability to speak standard English as the native speakers do. As a matter of fact, RP, or the received pronunciation, is just practiced by the most educated and cultivated learners. It is a class rather than a regional dialect. Moreover, the spread of English to many parts of the world leaves us confused as for the standard of spoken English. Different English varieties have their own suprasegmental features, and the principal features in syllable, stress, tone, and intonation. Now let's move on to distinctive features at the level of vocabulary. We all know that languages can hardly survive in isolation, but instead should always be in close contact with one another, owing to various factors such as colonization, migration, trade, scientific, or art exchanges. Where there is language contact, there are surely word borrowings. Therefore, linguistic borrowing must be considered an inevitable necessity, and the English language, with its opening attitude, enjoys and welcomes such linguistic borrowings. Next is the distinctive features at the same level of sentence. So different languages have different sentence structure that can achieve the same aesthetic results, since beauty is not equally but in effect, and different languages have its own way to pursue beauty. To them, sometimes the logical relation between two sentences in self-evident can be sent and comprehended. Have connective free sentence exist in Chinese. Meanwhile, parallel structure characterized by conciseness, rhythm, and symmetric beauty also wins the affection of Chinese people and make itself at home in China English. In order to achieve eloquence, China English always uses repetition to reinforce idea. For example, let us soar with a spirit that knows no fear. Let us taking off from today, soar off towards tomorrow. Let us make of every day and now starting point. Now let's have distinctive features at the same level of text and discourse. Text and discourse style of a language is largely determined by the world outlook, physiological view, value system, and thinking pattern, which vary from nation to nation. Each culture has its stream of understood and even appreciated by the whole world. So it is very important and necessary to present its ideology and cultural uniqueness through text and discourse, which is the very mirror of cultural convention and traditional behind a language. The writing style not only Chinese thinking pattern but also show their states of mind as well as their values of beauty. Let's have the conclusion. As Chinese government gives the priority to the development of economy, China now is experiencing an economic boom. China is sure to have many opportunities to conduct cultural changes, which under the help of China England will actually provide for the international friends the Chinese perspective and insights, and thus will unveil an amazing Oriental world and concerning cultural and ideology.